There we go. Whoa. Okay, sweet. Thank you. Whoa, that seems really loud on my end. Is that loud on your guys' end? Check, check. Wally Buck, what's up, man?
Hey, hey.
Let's see. We also got we got CN over here. Oh gosh, I love it. So actually, I was going to, or welcome. How you doing, Wally? It's been a little while.
Doing well. Doing well. Doing well. Exciting week.
It really has been. I mean, I've been excited to be able to share like what I felt with the personal experience of everything, and it's kind of indescribable. I feel like I don't know, I went through. Anyway, it just like took me to another level of unwavering conviction. I didn't think it could get deeper.
Yeah, it was. It seemed like very much putting tinfoil in the microwave and setting the timer to 20 minutes type of week.
Yeah,
It was explosive.
yeah, yeah, it was. And I think from the outside, it's like hard to. Yeah, I mean, even just the fact that we were going was kind of crazy, but just I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. It just seeing everything come together, um, and really all the news that's been going along with it has been blowing my mind. Like Amazon getting fined or getting in trouble for having a monopoly, Citadel, and apparently no sound on X. Thanks, CN. Actually, I'm not really sure how to fix that. Hopefully, it starts working on X. So Amazon, and then getting in trouble. Goldman Sachs and Citadel, not just Citadel. Like something's changing, right? Oh, and FINRA, right? Like all four of those people were seem to be kind of central to this whole kind of. Oh, thanks, man. Um, to this scheme that's been going on, and now they're getting in trouble. So it seems like the people pulling the strings, the people in power, it's shifting, and that gets me super excited. And it seems that being there in Florida, one interacting with Pulte, but also just being there, and I did drive around a bit. It just seems that I don't know. There's just these different. There's enough people fed up with what Amazon has done and Citadel that they're willing to flip the tables and turn it on them. So definitely excited about that.
I thought it was interesting when someone posted a picture while you guys were down there, and it was a picture of apparently the Icon Enterprises headquarters. Did you guys like stop by, get lunch by there? Were all of you guys together when you drove past that place? Was that part of like a hometown tour?
Yeah, we went and had. I actually have a video. I got to edit it up of us. Wow, John at the 20. No sympathy for the devil. Buy the ticket, take the ride. Thank you for your efforts throughout this, Michael. Hey, thank you. Um, I don't know. I mean, sorry, just to answer John's thing. I don't know if you're no sympathy for the devil. I'm not sure if you mean like. I mean, I do kind of feel bad. Like, I don't think Kenny and Doug are going to do well in jail. I don't think they're cut out for that kind of a world. But they deserve it. So, you know. Yeah, so, we got Ace Ventura with the two. Emotional damage with the two. Yeah, I actually was going to start doing since you suggested it, like a membership type thing. But one, I left this morning at 3:30 in the morning, my house, and
That's
yeah,
brutal.
by the time I got here, I just like kind of passed out, and I literally woke up like 45 minutes ago. So yeah. Oh yeah. So we were at Icon Enterprises. We ate by there, and just kind of we're looking at how everything's located, and that's kind of one thing I think. Not to get kind of political, but in 2016, one thing that turned the elections, and I don't know if this was like a left versus like a Democrat versus Republican, or the fact that maybe the whole both sides have been bought out or whatnot. But I find it interesting that this is all kind of happening with big players, the billionaires row in Florida. And, the one that was kind of buying out the media, buying out everyone is that whole Citadel kind of Goldman Sachs sort of conglomerate. And so, or cartel, I could say. And, anyway, that kind of got stuck in my head, and I couldn't really stop thinking about like the impacts of that. And so then to see that like the big advocate, not like I'm a big Trump person, right? Like, I don't really want to talk politics or anything, but that, he is friends with Patrick Burns, who does T0. So I'm just seeing that, like, I really think there's going to be a move towards a decentralized exchange, that a lot of people are fed up with, like, thanks Tammy, by the way, for the 5. They're fed up with like living in the like under the sword of Damocles or whatever. I mean, of just like having that at any moment, Citadel, if they don't like what you're doing, they could just rug pull you by just shorting you to the ground. Thunder Squeaver, where's Plur? Well, actually, I should send him. I should send him a message. Actually, I'll do that for you right now. Actually. But yeah, I think that's I think that's just the thing is that I think a lot of companies, we're going to see like a first group of people move over to T0, and then I just think the whole thing might move over. It just might be the new main, you know, stock exchange, which would be amazing. So
I don't know if anything would make me more happy than our favorite stocks being backed by, I don't know that they necessarily need to be NFTs. Maybe there's a benefit to that, but just the token authentication to validate that something actually exists and there can't be more than that. And, potentially in that type of a system, you can even support rehypothecation. If I lend something to you, they lend that out to someone else, that's lent out to someone else, so long as there's, full blown transparency made available through the chain with chain analysis to be able to determine that everything came from someone, and there's an individual, there's a smart contract, there's a handshake between all those parties. The failures in the system that we're suffering from and that the world has been suffering from as a result of things happening inside of this sort of centralized financial cartel with bad actors running the world is that, there's certain things that are regulated, there's certain things that excuse me, like long positions need to be reported to the SEC by these firms, but shorts can stay anonymous and swaps aren't regulated basically at all, it seems like. So if you have a bunch of options contracts that you've marked short and then take those positions and wrap them up into a swap, all of a sudden they disappear. So you lose the ability to be able to, have that verifiable, that just that transparency and tracking something across the life cycle of its, from the time the company issued the stock and who owned it at what point in the chain. It's just not possible in the current system. And in my opinion, that's at the foundation of corruption and abusive naked short selling and all the bullshit that we've been dealing with and that we're exposing. And I just hope that comes to an end. Like, I hear a lot of opinions reading the forums, people saying like, oh, short selling should be illegal. It's just like, well, no, it shouldn't be, because it's a valid agreement. It's a valid trade. There shouldn't be anyone saying that you can't do that, but it needs to be done responsibly. There needs to be transparency. It should not be a tool that allows for wizards and ivory towers in Shanghai, London, Chicago, New York, Miami, LA, wherever, to say, hey guys, there's this company here that either we don't like or we think we can pick on or that represents a threat to one of our major holdings. Let's all just create shares out of thin air on an Excel spreadsheet and, short it into oblivion, and no one will be able to stop us. That's the biggest, it's World War III, really.
it is.
It's crazy.
And, we finally have like the ability to at least get closer. I think that what we're going for is an ideal, right? That there isn't a perfect ideal. And so they haven't really tried to even approach the ideal. And, but there are certain factors where we should try to optimize, like the ability for shares, right? We would like there shouldn't be more than 100% voting, right? So we'd have to figure out like, but that could be all written into the blockchain and into the blockchain contract, as far as like if something's like you couldn't lend a share and then it still have voting rights, right? Or you'd have to give up your voting rights if you lent it.
And wasn't there something passed this summer in the like through the SEC? I hope it didn't pass, but I remember there was some regulation or some new rule they were trying to introduce that basically would make it so that, let's say I held call options on a stock,
Mm-hmm.
that because I have the right with a call option, I have the right to purchase shares between now and the expiration date, that I get voting rights on that volume of shares. Do you remember that? Did you see that go through?
I mean, I saw similar things. I mean, I don't doubt that that also happened.
It's just like, I see when you see things like that come on, and these are actually like regulations that are being introduced, and it's just so depressing to think that, like, it doesn't make sense logically. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass the sniff test. It just it gives someone that can spend, say, $10 in options premium 100 times more, uh, like, potentially 100 times more voting power than someone that just went out and bought a share of that stock for 10 or $20 and actually owns it. It's like you're giving someone 100 times the voting power because they spent premium on a contract to control the right to purchase 100 shares, but they
Yeah.
haven't exercised yet. It's just, what a criminal crock of shit.
Yeah, it's true. It is. Um, yeah, and I think that that's the cool part is that I can't remember who it was, whether it was Pulte, whether it was Hey Ross. Someone was mentioning, I think it was actually Hey Ross yesterday when he came on the stream, was talking about getting rid of the middlemen, and that there's always someone trying to jump in between and kind of extract value. And I think that if you have blockchain and then you put on share lending, it's like, look, you're going to lend your share out and you're going to lose your voting rights. But
Yes.
but it's not that borrowing fee goes to the broker for no reason, right? It will go to you, right, for giving up your voting rights, maybe, you know and then that could be a way where passive investors, they don't really want to be reading, but they do want to buy the stock, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna just give up my voting rights. And but we can't have our cake and eat it too, right? You can't like put share lending on, still vote. You can't like borrow a stock and then I don't know. I just there has to be. It's kind of like, I guess, a good fictional story, right? With superheroes, they have to have like their limitations and their strengths, right? You know, if there's a system in it, we're trying to. I think what we're trying to do is use the general stock price to show like how people feel about the company's movements, so that the people at the top can know like whether, not just like on a day-to-day basis without people even voting, like how people are feeling about what they're doing. So
Yeah, agreed. Well, hey, let's talk more about last week, unless you had another subject that you want, or
yeah,
not last
sorry,
week,
I
this
just
past week. No, it's great. I could talk about this stuff all day. I'm reading through the chat here, and I think it's kind of funny getting called a shill just because I'm saying, short selling itself isn't a bad thing. It's the abuses that are a result of these sort of technical inefficiencies that are being exploited, that results in no transparency, no accountability, and the ability to inflate supply to infinity with no one being able to know what the real supply is, through a disparate sort of segmented multi-broker system where each broker has their own ledger that they're managing, and nobody's talking to each other. And the DTCC is this black box that we can't see inside of. That's like sort of the hub, and all the brokers on the exterior are spokes on the wheel. It's a totally broken, like the way that shorting works. I totally agree with the sentiment that how it works today, which is the result of these exploited technical inefficiencies that are just the result of when they started trading shares electronically, they had to have something in place to, replace the need for actually physically transacting like shares, paper share certificates on a trading desk or trading floor in one of these big cities. It's I don't know. It's a very interesting subject, and I just hope that blockchain comes in, saves the day, gives transparency, and also puts, like you were just saying, Michael, puts something in effect where, should you choose to surrender your voting rights in exchange for passive income and sort of being the recipient of that cost to borrow premium, brokers shouldn't allow in their like brokers shouldn't be allowed in their terms and conditions to just set up a margin account for you by default. You don't know what it is. You're just putting your hard-earned money and trying to trade within an account,
Right.
and they're lending out all the shares based on the money that you spent on those shares. They're lending them out and collecting that as passive income, and retail
Yeah.
investors don't know, are none the wiser. That needs to end.
And I think that there's just too many middlemen end up in between it, which makes more people extracting, value out of the system when they're, able to kind of make the system inefficient, but also just like there's room for corruption. And if it's a blockchain, there's no middlemen. There's no like point of decision where a human could be swayed a certain way. It's just that's how it is, right? And I think that we need some decentralization of the monitoring, right? We're so used to being monitored by a central government, but I think there needs to be more of a balance of like transparency so that everything can be monitored on both sides to make it better for everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like transparency, that doesn't. I mean, on blockchain, it doesn't necessarily mean that crime can't happen. Like people
Right.
may figure out a way to exploit that system, but the difference is with transparency and immutability. That's what you get from a decentralized ledger on a blockchain. Is when someone crimes, it's right there.
Yeah.
Like it's not wrapped up in a swap contract with a counterparty in Brazil. It's
Yeah.
on the blockchain. It's code is law, and it's immutable. It's there, and it'll always be there. Now someone has to find it, so there's got to be good chain analysis. But it's anyway. Let's move
Yeah.
on. What are you showing right here, Mike?
Oh, actually, I picked the wrong one. I meant to do this one. Let's see if we
Let's
can
talk about it.
get it. So, oh yeah, also Noriko with the 20 euros is quite simple, and you all have to understand that the system is for hedgies and banks, not for retail, and all SEC government and so on are in it, and they will change rules or just don't follow them as they please. Yeah, and so I think that it's just not sustainable right now. No one really cares because like the people in control are getting what they want. But I think that that the people who actually understand how things work know that it's going to break if we, you know, if we don't do something about it. We got dad jokes with the 5 pair character cheerfully blowing a party horn. Heck yeah, thanks, man. All right, so this was actually something Wally Buck pointed me towards. Someone had posted on the subreddit. So thanks everyone for all their good due diligence. Let's see who. So this is the 8K for GameStop, and I mean skipping to the best part, right? Mr. Cohen will not receive any compensation for serving for the company's president, right? That's I mean that's amazing.
No overpaid executives at GameStop.
Yeah, and it's like I think easy we're going to be able to see who like what the sides are, and there's one side that wants overpaid executives, and to be able to gaslight retail investors and say that naked short selling doesn't exist, and and then there's the people that say, hey, we should, in order for this system to work and to grow, to flourish, we need to monitor executive compensation and also just the fairness and transparency of the market system that we have. So chief executive officer and chairman, and he will continue. Here we go for us. He will continue to engage in various business activities and pursuits outside of the company. So, anyone know what those possibly could be? I mean, I can't think of anything. He only does GameStop, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is if I were to post that in Superstonk, I'd get a lifetime ban.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone? I don't know if anyone's from Superstonk, or Is there some sort of counter argument? Like, I mean,
No, there isn't. I
no.
mean, I've spent at the end of last year, at the end of the year, Reddit will always send you like your year in review, right? Like, what are your Reddit analytics for the year? And I scroll. They give you the amount of time you spent on Reddit and some interesting factors, like the amount of banana links you scrolled last year. And I
Yeah.
scrolled dozens of thousands of banana links on Superstonk alone
Yeah.
last year. I've been there continuously, sort of as a result of hopping from one sub to the next, great migration, that whole deal. And the reason I don't go there anymore is simply because, I got involved in Bed Bath and Beyond August-ish of last year, and just solely on the premise of like, oh, Ryan Cohen wrote another letter. Like, I bought in after he wrote the letter for GameStop, did very well for myself, and I don't want to miss this one. Obviously, the outcomes, a similar timeline, have been drastically different, but I've had that conviction that, with varying levels of, I've had varying levels of conviction since I initially bought in. But one of the reasons I've stayed in is because no one has ever been able to answer this question. Like, he was clearly interested. He clearly had a stake. I chose not to sell after the news of him selling because I just didn't believe it. And then coming up in January, when he was acknowledged by like as a creditor in the pitch book um, DD that people were posting to the sub, I was like, this tells me that he's still in. And I've been looking for someone since then to tell me like, hey, there's information published as recently as like the like mid I think it was January 21st. It was around then
Yeah.
where it's saying that Ryan Cohen is still involved in this play 5 months, 4 months after he sold, after MSNBC told me Ryan Cohen was out of the play. Who does anyone have an opinion on this? And everyone I've talked to, and everyone I've talked to in Superstonk, all the posts in Superstonk earlier that year was just people getting banned from the sub or posts getting deleted and people calling you like a shill and distracting from the one true stonk. And that alone, like that's, I don't know, not to bogart this conversation on this subject, but no, nobody has an answer for this. And now we're seeing it documented in an 8K that
Yeah.
Ryan Cohen is absolutely working for, not working for, but working to secure income and to pursue activist investment opportunities in companies other than GameStop. And and that's not to say he's not committed to GameStop. He's put
Right.
his money where his mouth is. He owned 10% of the company last year. He spent $10 million, bought himself another, 400,000 shares or whatever it is just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he's invested in the company with his own money, and his personal net worth is going to ebb and flow with the performance of the stock, which is, should be fundamentally based on the fundamentals of the company's performance. So we have the benefit as a GameStop shareholder of, an incredibly successful, young, visionary leader, like founder, CEO, that is working for us for free and is putting his money into the equity where my money is in, and is, he works harder than I do. Props to that guy. He's more successful than me. I trust him, and I'm going to keep my money there. But I also think he's may have, dipped his toe in the water at Bed Bath and Beyond, and may not be as divested as mainstream would have us believe, and we're soon to find out.
You know what? I realized in someone in the chat. I mean, they brought up the nulls. Did GameStop get to use, or did they have any nulls when he got into GameStop? Do you know, or does anyone in the chat
I,
know?
yeah, I don't know. I don't think so because well, they very well may have. It's, I think, an easy way just to check that is just to look at their profitability over the past,
But
10 or
like,
12 quarters.
if they, well, I mean, would it have?
So the Knowles,
Yeah.
I don't think or I think they're uniquely applicable to Bed Bath and Beyond, like in comparison to the GameStop situation, because with GameStop, there was never, I mean, nothing ever happened in terms of a merger or an acquisition. There, like the Knowles, the opportunity with the Knowles and Bed Bath and Beyond present an opportunity of realizable value to someone else, like a white knight with additional capital that is looking to make use of the corporate infrastructure. Like
So
that's the value of the Knolls. Like it gives them a reason, an incentive for them to say come in with $1 billion, $2 billion of cash, because if they get what they want and they're able to execute with it, that's great. But the Knolls subsidize the true cost of that capital injection, because if they're successful post acquisition, they're able to write off, say $700 million of off of future profits. So there's $700,000 of value, or $700 million of future expenses that they're not going to have to pay, which is the same thing. A penny saved is a penny earned.
So the reason I was bringing it up was suddenly kind of had a light bulb moment. So here's the letter to that Ryan Cohen just wrote. Subject survival. I'll be straight to the point. It is not sustainable for GameStop to operate a money-losing business. The mission is to operate hyper efficiency and profitability. Our expense structure must allow us to endure any adverse scenario, whether it's a difficult economy or revenue deceleration from shrinking software. We must be profitable. Our job is to make sure GameStop is here for decades to come. Extreme frugality is required. Every expense of the company must be scrutinized under a microscope and all waste eliminated. The company has no use for delegators and money wasters. I expect everyone to treat company money like their own and lead by example. So right here, where it's saying,
Yeah, the first sentence, right? It's not sustainable for GameStop to operate as a money losing business.
but
Is that
what would
it?
instantly put them? Extreme frugality. So what would extreme frugality look like? Well, if let's say that they paid, whatever so the 1.5 billion nulls from of Bed Bath and Beyond were from 2022, I believe, is how they were calculated. So that means that they probably still also have other ones that are from 2021 and all the ones from 2023. So let's say that Ryan Cohen used like 1.5 or so, somewhere in that ballpark, $billion to buy Bed Bath and Beyond through GameStop. They would instantly get access to those net operating losses, and
Correct.
that would definitely help their profit margins. And so I think it's a way of like explaining to everyone, like, look, like this might not seem like if we even just bought just the shell and we just bought the net operating losses, that would actually help us be profitable, because we would just save all the money we would have had to pay in taxes.
Yes, I mean, I'm not an account. That's probably a better question for someone like Travis. I can, I think, I think it would boost profit. It would show higher profits on a balance sheet, but it would be at the cost of like a cash. It would be at the cost of their treasury. Like a
Yeah,
combination of it would be a combination of if they were to buy it, what would they how would they get it? They'd have to use either cash, a combination of cash, a debt instrument, or equity. Now, if it's an all stock deal and they were to get it, that could be pretty sweet.
that's
But
true, right?
like,
So
so that would be interesting. An all stock
yeah, because if
deal.
they gave all stock, it would cost them nothing to get essentially at least $1.5 billion worth of net operating losses they could easily use. And it's like, look, I'm being frugal. I'm like, trust me, bro. Like, it's gonna work out. But that just kind of also, that's not something I've been thinking about until like literally someone in the comment just brought up the nulls, and I just kind of had an aha moment to reading this letter. So
I think that would be. I'm thinking about it. I don't think an all stock deal could work. I mean, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a
yeah.
professional with this, but what it would do also is, yes, GameStop would get the net operating losses. They get the nulls, but they would also inherit the debt of the company. Because Bed Bath and Beyond still has what, $1.5 billion of debt, at least, right?
So
Like,
actually, that's kind of, well, that brings us back to that. I guess the title is that what they're doing is a debt to equity conversion. So all the bonds get converted into shares, And so they're,
Are you seeing a correlation for the debt to equity swap in this letter, or are you just referencing the potential for there to be a debt to equity swap from? Yeah,
oh,
because
just
I'm with you.
yeah, I mean, well, I'm just using their. I mean, I don't know who all, how much of the ride people have been on, but M3 Partners, they
They
had
submitted their
a.
intent. Didn't they submit their intent to, or their intent? Didn't they communicate that they intend to move forward with a debt to equity deal? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know that they said the intent, but when I've been researching all the players involved, right, that the I think it was the CEO of M3 Partners used to work for Kirkland Ellis, and when he was
Hmm.
there, he helped write a white paper about debt to equity conversion. And so it makes sense that if you convert the debt to equity, and then you do an all stock deal, you
Yeah,
essentially,
I see where you're coming from.
so it
That
would
can
take
totally
Ryan
work.
Cohen like, I don't know how many. He basically would just have to pay off the dip loan. So whatever that would be, 370 million or however much the total is, to get 1.5 billion dollars worth of net operating losses. Also sell into a squeeze. Also, you know, buy loyalty of tons of consumers. So or customers. I don't know. It was just a
Yeah,
thought that all kind
yeah.
of came together in one. I'm like, wow, that potentially, like, it would seem just like a, weird balance sheet thing, to, because I don't know. I don't know if, like, the FUD around some of the GameStop investors and whatnot, like, whether they're real. Like, I don't know whether the vocal majority is actually not a majority. And I mean, it makes sense that, like, something like Bye Bye Baby, especially when Ryan Cohen trademarked GME Kids, right, to have a whole clothing brand that's GameStop, I mean, just that alone would be huge, right? So
Yeah, no, you
yeah.
got me thinking about this, and I think one of the most beautiful outcomes we could see would be some sort of a situation where affiliated with GameStop in some way, with Ryan Cohen in some way, whether it's M3 Partners, Sixth Street, Carl Icahn, whoever, if there's someone out there that owns the bonds and they're interested in doing a debt to equity swap, and they want the Knowles to end up inside of GameStop's balance sheet in an all stock deal,
Hmm.
in which stock is issued from GameStop for, you know, for like the where they make a, say, whatever sort of cash equivalent stock deal to acquire the Bed Bath and Beyond corporate structure, and then as a part of that, whoever owns the bonds sort of facilitates the trade where they're getting equity either in GameStop or in the successor entity and wiping out the debt. That could result in well, I guess not could result. The result of that would be the successor entity getting shares funded by GameStop stock, and GameStop's balance sheet having the Knowles, which would make future quarters, look more profitable, at least sort of like you kind of think of it as like a $600 or $700 million credit towards future profitability.
Right.
And they would not be laden with the debt from the bonds. They'd just be there with the Knowles, the corporate infrastructure. I don't know how that would work, whether it's a, I'm probably way off. It's more complicated than my simple, smooth brain is able to just accurately condense right here. But sort of the mechanics of it are making sense. That would be really,
It's within
dude.
the
I'd love to.
ballpark, I think. I think that
Yeah, I
we're
think so
we're we're
too.
within the ballpark, that there's something there, that these are the kind of some of the variables that are at play, and how they're going to exactly bring those together and mix them together. But the bondholders did get extinguished, right? And the thing is that so I started looking into what extinguished meant. So, extinguishment of corporate stock when the writer announced to the president of our bar association his title for the paper now to be read. It was advised not, let's see, not much of a paper could be extended as there was little law on the subject. Right. Oh, whoops. Okay. If the corporation acquires shares of its own stock, it may either extinguish or sell the same. If extinguished, it shall operate to them that extent as a reduction of the amount of its capital stock. No vote shall be given on any stock while owned by the corporation, nor shall any stock while so held be entitled to any dividend. So it looks like that extinguished is for what the company chooses to do with stocks that they've bought back. And so you can either then sell those or extinguish them. That's what that term specifically means.
So extinguish would be like it's a reduction in the total float, right?
But only
Maintaining
of
the
the
market
ones,
cap.
but only of the ones that that the company owns. It's not, you can't just extinguish someone else's,
No,
right?
yeah, sure. So,
Yeah.
so like with like Carl Icahn sold back all his stock of Xerox to Xerox today. Let's say it was 100 million shares. Xerox, if like what this is saying is that Xerox has the ability to either maintain those stocks on their balance sheet, but not vote with them, not collect dividends with them, but they could resell them so they could speculate on their own equity, or they can extinguish them, maintain their market cap, but reduce the float. Is that sort of what we're
Right.
talking about? Okay.
Yeah,
Just
and
want to
Bed
make
Bath and
sure.
Beyond had done buybacks, right? We don't know whether they then resold those at some point. They also had a
I,
shelf
be, I,
offering.
I believe they extinguished them, which is why the free float was all the way down to 78 million last year. So they were reducing the float with their buybacks to drive the stock price up. It was just their company performance resulted in the the opposite happening. Terrible outcome, terrible decisions.
Grab us the two, Michael. You need some mods, best in the Pen 15 Club. Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, hold on, real
Yeah.
quick. I'm seeing Yo in the chat, and it seems like he's had a lot of success, shorting Bed Bath and Beyond down since last year. Congratulations, Yo, on a successful trade. But it's the trade's not over yet, and I'd love to hear your opinion. I just see you typing all sorts of things in there. I'd love to talk to somebody who's been on the short side of this. I'm glad that you're able to benefit from, you know, this it's a zero sum game. I've lost money, you've made money. Congratulations. But I think the reason that we're here is because we are not convinced that Ryan Cohen ever left the play, and we're speculating that someone, whether it's Ryan Cohen or some other white knight, sees value in this corporate entity. We're talking about the Knowles a little bit, which is basically like a coupon for someone to come in, buy the shell, do something they want with it. And especially if whoever is looking at the Knowles and sees value in that is affiliated with somebody who had previously bought bonds for 10, 5, 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. All of a sudden, if you happen to buy a significant chunk of the debt for pennies on the dollar and you're interested in the Knowles, you could potentially come in, acquire the company, and get paid to do it. So that's why I'm here. I don't know why everyone else is here, but we'd love to have you on. I'm sure Michael agrees. And if you don't want to come on, I just want to, congratulate on the paper gains you have so far. And hopefully in the next week or so, you keep your positions open and I keep my open. And, you've been taking my money for the past year. I'd like to take nothing from you personally, but I want to sneak into that short seller's purse. That would be really great for me. But anyway.
I agree. Also, if real quick, if anyone wants to, like, I don't want to spend much time censoring the chat, but if someone wants to put the name of the most annoying person in the chat, I can just ban them right now. So do a little witch hunt.
Yo, you don't need to put your camera on. We just had someone on earlier that had their camera. I mean, Michael, it's your show. Do we need to have a camera on? Yo,
No,
apparently
no.
Yo's
I mean, it's
camera
fine.
shy.
I mean, I'll just.
So I don't know. Yo, it sounds like you know what you're talking about, and I'm not angry at the short. I'm not angry at individual investors like ourselves that are on the short side of the trade. My beef is not with you. Our beef, I don't think, is with you. I think our beef is with, the system at large that allows for short selling or short sellers to have an unfair advantage, if and we're assuming that they are coordinating, colluding inside the ivory towers, exploiting the float, selling more shares than should ever exist, with no accountability for where they located the shares they're selling from. I think that's where my anger is directed. It's not towards people like us that are just trying to make a buck. Anyway, I'll stop picking on you, Yo, and Michael. I'll let you continue. I'm just seeing that in the chat and wanted to politely invite him in because
Yeah.
hard to find a it's hard to find someone on the short side of this that can you know
I,
coherently finish a sentence or not regurgitate something they heard on the news yesterday.
to me, the sad part about that the investing has to do with either A, inside information, or B, trying to figure out what the bad people are trying to do, right? And so it's like, it's like if I guess, that first thing came to my mind, because I'm, like in San Francisco, they've been having a lot of people coming in and looting, different like Targets and CVS's and whatnot. So it's like, are you going to bet? Like, if you had to place a bet, like, are they going to be able to stop them or not, right? You might say they're not going to be able to stop it, right? But that would be you're betting that something bad's going to happen. Like, the system should be able to stop that. So it's just sad that someone's making a bet that Citadel and Goldman Sachs are going to be able to sell or box Bed Bath & Beyond successfully.
Yeah.
And they haven't been wrong for several years because they've been successfully, taking down companies. And but I just think that's one thing I want to change, is that a company, its share value is actually a reflection of the confidence in the public has in those people, or in that company. So, people having confidence that Citadel is going to continue to do corrupt work and Goldman Sachs and be able to get away with it. I mean, it's not misplaced. It could happen. I believe that there's enough people fed up with that there's going to be a change. But I think that's the angle more than, because if you hear what they say about their short thesis, they don't really have a short thesis. I mean, we talked to Phil and he seemed like a pretty nice guy, but it wasn't that he was thinking possible directions. I mean, we're not talking about a company like a corner of the market that's just going to disappear, right? It's not like Pogs or Furbies or Tamagotchis, right? This is home goods and baby products. That's literally two parts of the market, big parts of the market that have existed forever and will always exist. And these are big players within that market. So anyone that thinks it's just going to turn to zero is crazy, right? But if a person's thinking statistically, Citadel and Goldman Sachs, who have been seller boxing and successfully seller boxing companies, will continue to do that. I mean, it's at least a logical bet. I just hope that something's changed.
Yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from, Michael, with that. And it's, I think my sentiment is, for those guys that are making that bet so far, they've been right. And it's easy, it's easy to bet with the status quo, that it's not going to change. And, for that reason, my mentality sort of aligns with, I think a wise man, Ice-T, once said, "Don't hate the playa, hate the game." And I don't hate the players in this. I hate the game that allows for this abuse to occur. But there's people like us out there. People are trying to make a buck, and it's a lot less risky to just bet that systems of power will stay in power up until the day when the Citadel crumbles. And I'm trying. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be liquid when
They
there's
get
blood in the
liquidated.
street. Yeah, I want that to fill my cup and handle.
Yeah. Well, I think it will. I mean, it seems that seems that the tide has shifted. So here's also what's a cancellation of shares, right? So we're being canceled, released, and extinguished, right? So cancellation of shares is the process by which a company cancels either already issued shares or the unissued ones, right? Normally, the corporations act in a bid to protect the interests of the shareholders, forbid a company from reducing its shareholder funds unless it is shutting down the business, right? So it says it very clearly, right? Like normally, right, the Corporations Act, you can't just cancel someone's stock, right? The UCC is involved. They're going to make sure that this part is upheld, right? That's like the main thing they do is this Corporations Act to make sure that the unsecured creditors don't just get destroyed. But there's either there could be unissued shares that they need to get rid of, right? Because they're in the process of trying to calculate, when they do this debt to equity conversion, how many shares they're going to be giving the bondholders. And so they were doing a lot of historical research on the shares and what they'd be worth, because like the price right now isn't really reflective of what the company value is. So they had to have some sort of evaluation to say what the shares would be worth. And that brings me to the show I did yesterday, which was that they were cash. Well, they made money last month. And that brings me back to the other thing is all the shills keep saying you're getting canceled, right? You're getting extinguished, right? Like if I said you're getting extinguished, like as a person, like, yeah, that'd be terrifying, like sounds like death, right?
Unless you're into that sort of thing.
Unless you're into that thing. But I mean, hopefully you're not. But they keep using that word without actually defining it. And it was the same thing where we kept talking about shared IP and profit sharing, right? So the fact that Bed Bath & Beyond made cash last month, where did they make that cash from? Last month, which was August, they didn't have any stores open. They closed all their stores July 31st. So how did they make cash, right? And it's probably because of the profit sharing agreement they have with Overstock, because Bed Bath & Beyond still has their distribution centers, and so they get basically it puts them in a position of just being the wholesaler that's also dealing with actually shipping the stuff. So so I think all these things, the extinguishment and all that, is kind of to get the share count and everything ready to where when they have the debt to equity conversion, that that they can know how much it's going to be, right? So I don't know if anyone in chat has I have a hard time keeping up with the with the chat, actually. Okay.
I got a question for
Yeah,
you,
go ahead.
Michael. Just quick change of subject. What the hell do you think is happening at SpaceX right now?
Well, I saw someone posted something that was that Starlink. They're doing another chain of Starlink ones, like satellites,
Oh, that's what. So there's an actual launch tomorrow.
on the 29th, actually. I think
I think that's
they're
tomorrow.
yeah.
Those
So
time zones are
tomorrow,
messing with you, Michael.
yeah. So tomorrow they're gonna do. I think they're launching more Starlink ones, and this is definitely tinfoil. I have no way to connect this, but
That's why I'm here.
there my thought a little while ago when I saw that Blockbuster was involved, and Blockbuster is involved. John with the 2, we won. Some guy, yeah. That I am just some guy, but we did win. But so when I saw that Blockbuster is involved, especially when it's on the M3 partners, if anyone hasn't seen this, it's quite amazing. Here,
So there's a Starlink launch tomorrow.
and I think that, hold on, let me see. About Us? Was it in here where they were talking? Oh, yeah. Okay. So if anyone hasn't looked at this is crazy, right? So we got Blockbuster. What do you know? They were Stellar Box. You have American Airlines. They were the ones, they had a similar kind of short squeeze type situation, almost getting canceled, then things changing, right?
GM went bankrupt.
Oh, yeah. And then Neiman Marcus, that also had like the crazy docket that was like, I kind of like somewhat decoded or whatever. The same guy wrote one for Neiman Marcus, right? And so seeing that
Toys R
Blockbuster,
Us.
yeah, Toys R Us, seeing that that Blockbuster is on here. Well, Blockbuster is owned by Dish Network, right? And so I think that what's happening is Dish Network has been going down. They have to do something in order to kind of save themselves. But I think they do have, I'll say, a lot of intellectual property. I don't know exactly how all that works, but they have value. But they will just probably keep going down to nothing when just like DSL and different things are beating them. But
Yeah,
if they
imagine
pair
having
up,
imagine paying for Dish Network in 2023.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
But I think that there's a chance that if Dish Network and Starlink came together, and it was just all about satellites and whatnot, it would kind of make sense.
That's Yeah, that's part of the reason why I said imagine buying Dish Network in 2023 because Starlink is on the way. Like in the area where I live, just houses that are for sale or whatever, you just see a bunch of rundown like disheveled satellites on a steel pole in people's front yards or laying next to someone's house because they took it down forever ago, never threw it away, never set it back up. It's not in use. I've actually got one in my front yard, a Dish Network satellite that hasn't been in service for probably 10 years.
I mean, I just looked at the market cap. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but now that I guess oh, Dish Network. So the market cap right now, 3.16 billion. I mean, apparently, I mean, it is going down quarter on quarter. Let's see the annual. Actually, that's not too bad. I
Adjusted for
mean,
inflation, though.
so net income of 2.3 billion, right? Like, I mean, wow. Um, I don't know. There might be something
Net,
there, and because
net
if
income, is
block,
that profit?
that's profit.
2.3 billion income in a
Yeah,
year on a stock with a $3 billion market cap.
I am just as confused as you, actually. Like, I mean, what's funny is I actually had looked at this, but I don't think that I actually looked at the net income. But yeah, so I mean, who knows whether Elon would just buy that? I mean, he bought Twitter, right, for way more than that, and it wasn't profitable. Not saying buy calls on this, but I have no idea if you want live your best life. But if he bought it, I mean, one, that would just be you're straight up just buying a company that's cash flow positive, and if it connected with, because then he could do an offering or something and pay for SpaceX or for Starlink. Yeah, sorry, I'm also my brain's just kind of going crazy right now. Oh, because like if Twitter had Blockbuster as part of it, that I think that we're kind of going towards things have to be sort of an ecosystem, and Amazon has its own streaming service, and yeah, so maybe that's where they're going for. So all right,
Yeah.
let's see what else we got. Yeah, so we got so I think right here where it's you have the class 8 being canceled, released, and extinguished. I think that it's like that their shares are, because I think the bonds, I don't know exactly how it works, but basically since they could be money, you could pay them or pay them in shares. That I think this language still kind of makes sense, that it's like we're going to cancel the bond, but we're going to give you the shares, because the company kind of owns the bonds, even though like the bondholders own like they own equity. Anyway, since they get paid either way, I think that this language still makes sense. I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but JJ AMC would be a better pair for streaming services. I don't know. I kind of believe that maybe they might be involved as well. So you might see Blockbuster and AMC together. Um, yeah. So, but yes, I
What
like where you're headed with that.
what the hell? That's crazy. I've never spent any time thinking about Dish Network. at all.
And
But
that's, the cigar blood. I think the thing is that we have this like expansion and contraction of the economy and of companies. There's certain technology in their life cycle. But what really kind of hit Dish Network was when online gaming became a thing because the latency was too high. You couldn't really online game with Dish Network, but people watching videos can do it fine. But there's still a big portion of the world that that's the only thing they offer. I mean, I know for us, where my parents live, we could barely get the DSL we have is not real DSL. It's like, I don't know, 150. No, it would be like less. Yeah, like 250 kilobytes a second or something crazy. So it's like you could barely run a 1080p video. So if you wanted fast internet, you have to have Dish Network, you know. So
get that 112 kilobyte up and down.
yeah,
It's twice as good as the 56. Well,
yeah,
what's on this sheet? What's in this? Let's move on from the dish, but I think that's an interesting thing to.
yeah.
That's definitely like what the hell. But do we want to talk about this document that you're on? I know I interrupted this earlier.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry.
just that I think that basically that all this language has to do, and I think I actually had one more. What did I? Um,
Yeah, I wanted to move on from the dish conversation. Someone made a comment in the chat earlier, and what was it? It was never considered something that out there, but it's possible. And I was like literally thinking the exact same thing in my head, like, wow, we're really out on a limb right now, but this is, pretty interesting. But I think we should bring it back into Bed
oh
Bath
yeah,
and
no, I'm.
Beyond, and maybe a recap on this week and relevant
Well, I mean,
documents.
I think that that is one thing about the trip is that there's you have to think how willing are people to come to the negotiation table, right? And when you have people that someone like maybe Dish Network, say the executives, and they're like, yeah, this probably isn't going to last forever unless we make some drastic change, I think that there's a lot of companies out there that know that they have to make some sort of change. I mean,
That's
I
a
think
good
that
point.
each change is different, right? Like Lego, why is Lego involved? Well, Lego's a private company. And but just because they're a private company doesn't mean that they might not be interested in, let's say, if they moved to T0, they could stay as a private company. There already are private companies on T0, but then it would be so much easier for them to just do an offering, you know, and be like, okay, fine, we're selling 5% of Lego to whoever, retail people. And then cool, yeah, we would be able to, they would kind of keep their whole structure as far as like the power wouldn't really shift, but they could raise a bunch of money, and stay essentially a private company. There could be kind of like a pseudo, like the idea of a private company and a public company might just be different. So yeah, I just think that there's a long list. I think that this one is a kind of good place to start about like who all is going to be there, right? Like is Guitar Center a public company? I don't even know. See, I haven't even looked that up.
Wait, so
Oh,
there's
they
some
are.
meeting with there's some meeting with M3 partners next week, or
I mean, I don't know about meetings for next week. Um, I mean, probably. I mean, they show up all over in the filings. But yeah, I mean, I just brought up just because, like, who are all the players that probably are tired of the system and want to make a change? This is just like maybe a place to begin with.
oh, okay.
Ramen Jamali, are you still bullish? Yes, I am very bullish. I mean, I wasn't watching stock because I was on the plane, but when I got back, I still, I mean, my theory yesterday was if they had the earnings released, then that would be exciting. But they didn't release it for whatever reason. But we're definitely still on track. Any day now, it could definitely hit. So yeah, let's see what else. Oh, someone was saying about David Caston. Did you hear anything about that?
Not heard anything about David Caston, but what I did hear about was Sue Gov is apparently no longer at the company as of like, uh, as of some date in September. If you look up Sue Gov on LinkedIn, it's listed that she's worked at Bed Bath and Beyond from whenever until September of 2023, and that she has another job that she started, or maybe not another job that she started, but another job that she's been at for about a year that is marked as her present employment. And I know David Caston, he moved on a couple weeks back.
Real truck? Oh wait, no, that's well, it
Yeah,
says
so
till
she's got,
present.
yeah, till present, but it mentioned that she's been at Bed Bath and Beyond for a defined period of time instead of an ongoing period of time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Matt Furlong coming back. I don't know. It's honestly, people are asking if we're still bullish. I mean, I'm still bullish. I feel good about this decision. It's been a tough pill to swallow for the past year or so, but knowing there, I've not seen any other than the stock price going down, which obviously makes you feel sick to your stomach when you're invested heavily, and that mathematically, it's just makes sense to dollar cost average in more, to lower your cost basis, increase your share count, yada yada yada. But I always felt good about continuing to cost average in because there was never any new information published that invalidated the reason I got into the play to begin with, which is I really think Ryan Cohen is involved, and I really think that there's value in these net operating losses. So a combination of those two things, I'm in, and I'm just looking forward to next week to see what the hell happens. And
Yeah.
I'm going to feel good about this stock for the foreseeable. I'd say for the next 6 months, so long as it's not showing up on my ticker at 0.0001. So long as it's not at 0.0001 at the bottom of the seller, I'm going to feel good about this because that's where they want it to be. And so
Yeah.
long as it's not there, we've got a fighting chance. And I think it's timelines over the next couple days, couple weeks. Apparently, like Chapter 11 bankruptcy protections expire in January or in November, and there's something out in the future about something happening in January with it as well. I honestly don't know what any of that stuff means, but so long
So
as it's not at 0.001, I feel good about it.
that actually reminded me of one thing I was thinking that I wanted to talk about today, which was the partial government shutdown. So,
Yes, coincides on October 2nd, 10-2 on the Teddy clock. What the actual tinfoil fuck? Like,
yeah.
what is.
So, for me, like, I mean, yeah, that tinfoil connection, I was like, that is really weird. But,
Sometimes I see like I'll pick up a scrap of tinfoil or something, and I just have to like turn my phone off and like go for a quick walk because I'm just like this is too much and I generally just chalk it up as like it's some of these are coincidences and some are just like the most unbelievable true coincidences and imaginable because I really don't think there's a chance in hell that they could have coordinated the publishing of the clock in a children's book with like something meaningful happening as the result of a government shutdown. If so, this is some crazy, we're in a simulation, I don't know if I want to say
and
too much more, but some
I've
crazy
always kind
stuff.
of made sure to separate the tinfoil. I mean, I think I've kind of treated it as like entertaining. It's just like, oh, I want to be able to be the one to find some random connection, true or not, just because it's funny.
True, yeah.
But I mean, that was one of the reasons I got emotional. Was it was like the look when I looked over and I saw Bill Pulte walking towards us with ice cream. Like the smirk on his face was like, haha, I'm really clever. It was like, this is such good tinfoil. And then it come to find out like, cause I could tell right away, right? I've never seen that brand of ice cream. And it was very obscure kind of brand. It was like made in, whatever 47, whatever all the numbers, like, like it had all the tinfoil qualities, and
Wait, what are you talking about? Like the container of ice cream was tinfoily for you?
I mean, I knew that it was tinfoil. I didn't even know. We got E.W. Williams with the 5. It's going to be a reverse merger, like Kai said a long time ago. Teddy Holdings takes barbecue shell, Overstock, and Dream on Me rolls into Teddy. Yeah, GME to
That
later.
would
Yeah,
be I would be so fucking happy if that's what ends up happening.
yeah. I mean, I see that they have a lot of options on the table, and I don't even know whether Ryan Cohen has decided which one. To be honest, like I think that he's, I was going to do analysis of his personality, but my guess is that he would have backup plans like no one's business. Like it would be the most out there kind of backup plans that would make sure that if this then that, that it gets done either way. So I'm not worried exactly how it happens, but I know, if we even just don't get wiped out, we're going to be, if we retain any amount of equity, it's going to squeeze to the moon still. So
Absolutely. Well, hey, real quick, calling out
yeah.
someone put something in the chat that I'd like to know from you also, Michael, because you were there last week. What was up with the image on the screen, like the reversal logic? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like where on the screen someone was writing something on the blackboard behind them and it spelled out through the stream like it was a mirror image, but there are other things that were backwards. Is there anything going on there, or is that just sort of like
I mean, it
how
wasn't
like
it wasn't Bill Pulte that wrote it. It was Kais. So I mean, I don't know. I
oh,
mean,
Kais was in the teddy bear outfit?
no. Oh no. Okay, if it was the teddy bear, that would have been rock solid. Yeah. So Kais
Oh,
wrote
okay.
the original thing on there, but then rock solid. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if someone told him to write something but I mean, the definite like, the I I guess I could pull it up, or if someone, I mean, you could just find it on the subreddit of the tinfoil of the ice cream though. But it like literally had the date it was made and all these things and their customer delight in there. Like had all the right qualities to it. So yeah, what was
Okay.
I oh yeah, so the government shutdown, right? So, as far as the timeline, I think that's the thing is we keep looking at dates, right? But it's really like a timeline of steps, and there are things that can make it go faster or slower, right? Like, who knows whether the judge was actually going to let them, you know, have a shortened time period for different things, right? The judge was very accommodating in that way, but it wasn't guaranteed that would happen. And so it would kind of been, I don't want to say impossible to know the exact timeline of the events, but also there are things that would complicate it, right? And the government shutting down, one thing that would happen was that the SEC would be down to like a bare bones. And so things like issuing new shares wouldn't be able to happen. And so I think right now, I think the reason we didn't get the announcement actually has to do with the government shutdown. I think that the plan might have been to announce it on Monday. So
Oh,
the deal's done, but like a big part of it is that they want to issue shares into the squeeze. And let's say that they would have made the deal public or whatever on Monday. Well, then that means that Bed Bath would probably want to issue shares into the squeeze, well, in a couple weeks, right? You think about like how long it would take to squeeze up all the way, and then if they, sold at the top. So like that would be right in the middle of the potential government shutdown. And so for me, that's why
damn it.
when I saw the price, I was like, oh, it just means that like we got cock blocked by the government. And and it comes back to this weird kind of politics thing where it's like, well, they want more funding and whatnot. And so, yeah, so I think that is, if anyone is, and I know that's not what anyone really wanted to hear, but I guarantee the deal's done. That it's just that there are a few things that could delay it, but it can't delay it forever. The government can't just be like, oh, we're shut down like permanently. So yeah, So if anyone's wondering when it's going to happen, well, I mean, it might possibly hinge on that. So
Yeah, because Gary Gensler did announce, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that like, hey, if anyone's trying to IPO next week, like, you're not going to be able to.
yeah,
Like,
right, and so
we're
that's a big part of what they want to do because, like, well, I'm sure in the whole planning, how much the GameStop, how many shares they issued was planned. I mean, David Simpson like went into that like in detail. He's like, they planned exactly how many they were gonna do, and whatnot. They could have done more, and they didn't. And so like, they've been planning this part of it, and if they get robbed of that event, that kind of messes things up. So we have Ramaz Jamali, we got Mike. You were super bullish yesterday, and you even mentioned that we won today after David and RC letter. How bullish are you today? If you can please explain. Thanks, bud. I'm more bullish. I'm also just tired af because I woke up. I got done streaming last night at like 11:30, and then I had packed for like an hour, and so I went to bed at like 12:30, and then I got up at 3:30 and drove to the airport. So I've been in Spirit Airline. So far, they've been way
okay.
better than Frontier, but the bar is incredibly low. So I still was definitely in a cramped, you know, um, airplane seat for the last, I don't know, 7 hours plus. Anyway.
And Michael, were you on the private plane?
No, that was it was Control Chaos, Travis, and PP. They only had 3 seats, so
Gotcha.
yeah. I mean, they were kind of small planes. Actually, there was like 6 planes total or something that were all leaving at the same time, going to the same place. So
So I'll circle back to the question I asked earlier. Um, when I said, "What the hell do you think is happening at SpaceX right now?" You answered. You were talking about like actually what SpaceX is doing with the Starlink launch. Then we started talking about Dish Network. But like, why the heck do you think that you know? Why was Pulte heading there? Why was he planning to bring guys? And they ended up not going. Right? Something to do with they landed in Austin, and Pulte was just like, "Yeah, never mind," and people just went home. I think is that kind of what happened?
I actually haven't followed up with any of them, to be honest. I mean,
Oh,
I've
really?
somewhat kind of heard from Control Chaos. He came and tipped me in the stream last night, but yeah, I haven't heard. Ramaz Jamali for the 5. Okay, bud, thanks for your time. We all appreciate your work and your time. Yeah, sorry, I'm not like more excited. I just literally like felt like death when I got home.
Well,
So
so what? So let's just talk tinfoil for a second.
yeah.
What the heck with the private plane and the PP crew heading to SpaceX and Pulte being there today and taking a pretty gangster selfie in front or a picture right in front of the rocket. What do you think this or any of this means?
I mean, it means this is war. I mean, I like I
Okay.
just can't express this enough. There's a lot of people. So who was I talking to? Oh man, um, was it Hodge? No, I'm not sure who it was I was talking to, but they were. It was on a Twitter space, and they were like, "Yeah, the shorts never have to pay, right? Like, not only do they not like pay, like they already got their money that they wanted because they already sold the shares,
It's
but
so
they don't even have to
disgusting.
pay taxes on it because like it's like stuck for a while, and
Well,
they yeah,
it's because they never closed. It's because they never closed the position. It stays unrealized inside of a brokerage account, and that's a positive balance. And then they can have that if that account that it's in is margin eligible, then they just have a positive balance to work again to use margin to open new positions,
right.
and it's
So, but
crazy.
then they can open positions and maybe I don't know get loans against it or whatever. I don't know how. I mean, all the details, but like if you think about it, so FTX is gone, so the money funneling to politicians and all that's gone, and they're not paying taxes. So now that like the government isn't really benefiting from this, why would they continue to be, dancing with the
Well,
devil?
I don't think we can. I don't think we can simplify it down to because FTX is no more that there's no more opportunities to funnel money corruptly into government
No,
officials'
I mean that,
hands.
but like the whatever the main vehicle to do that was, the main kind of platform is at least like damaged, I guess you could say. That it's like people are like open now to better offers because maybe there wasn't any better offers before. I just what I mean is that like the stranglehold that Goldman Sachs and Citadel had over like the whole country, that that hold is loosened, and that there's a bunch of people that are seizing this opportunity and coming together, and probably a lot of those big players were at SpaceX because
Okay,
Elon Musk said he
I
doesn't
like
like
that
short
tinfoil.
selling. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good speculation.
yeah, and I think that it's like he doesn't like he does like one okay he said he doesn't like short sellers. He says what else oh, he wants to have his own stock exchange, right? So it just kind of makes sense that you'd have, T0, people start moving to T0. Then what if Tesla moves over to T0, right? And then the number one kind of way to interact with T0 is through Twitter, right? Like that there's like a plug-in straight from Twitter to T0. And I mean, that would be amazing. And at that point, all the favorite stocks that Goldman Sachs and Citadel were shorting are no longer there. And not only they'll get liquidated in the process, but let's just say they don't get liquidated. Well, someone else will be next. So I think there would be just this fear where suddenly every company was like, someone's going to get killed and I don't want to be next. It's kind of like if you're running from a lion and you're like, oh, well, there's people that are slower than me behind me. Well, if all the people slower than you just get like, you know, whatever, raptured or whatever it was they take pulled up, then suddenly you're the last person running. You're like, well, oh, I'm the next one to get eaten because that lion is still hungry. And so I think that we might see, because it's like kind of things happen slowly. Some things happen slowly and then all at once. And I think that this move to this decentralized exchange will happen slowly, then all at once. And, it will just completely, everything will just get turned upside down.
Honestly, I don't think I can think of very few things that would make me happier than somehow Elon Musk being involved in a GameStop Bed Bath and Beyond play, because I made my first little bit of money by investing in Tesla stock, and I'm a big fan of Elon Musk personally. I mean, he's a pretty divisive character. Some
Yeah.
people seem to hate him. I think he's honorable in the things that he does. Is he kind of a prick? I mean, yeah, sure, but I'm just impressed by him, and that's my personal opinion. But
Yeah.
I made my first little chunk of change by buying and holding Tesla stock from, I adjusted for splits like $20 a share through it's like $300 a share, and at that time I basically moved all out of Tesla, and I want to get back into Tesla, but I've been out of it for about 2 years now, and my conviction has been in GameStop and then in Bed Bath and Beyond, and I'm now all in on those tickers. And over the long term, I want to be sort of have my capital allocated into Tesla, into GameStop, into whatever Bed Bath and Beyond does, into some cash, into some crypto. But like that's just kind of where I want to be. So if it would be very poetic if in some way everything comes full circle and the dollars I earned 4 or 5 years ago that went into Tesla, that turned into GameStop, and then turned into Bed Bath and Beyond end up somehow coming full circle. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I
a man
I
can
think it
dream.
will.
I'm not saying I think it'll happen.
Well, I
It
think that
would be.
if he also was able to IPO like through, I don't know how do it, but like Starlink or any of those other ones, that he wouldn't have to be selling as many Tesla shares. And as soon as it's like very clear that he doesn't need to sell any more Tesla, because that is what some people are scared of. They're like, oh, like I mean, I bought some and then he sold and then it kind of pulled me down. But yeah, like I think, because I think I bought it like what was it, 160 or 180 or something around there, a little while back. But I mean, if I would have been able to just hold on to it, I'd been fine. It's way above where I sold. But but yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that we're like the idea of a public company is going to change. So that's the main tinfoil.
Hey, I'd appreciate it. I've got this is one of my NFTs I own off of the marketplace. But yeah, the Cyber Crew stuff is pretty cool. And one thing, real quick, further down in the chat, someone mentioned uh, that Elon's fucked over his employees pretty bad. Let's not call him honorable. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I respect your opinion. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know. But I applied to work at Tesla back, I think, in 2015, 2016. And I wish I had taken the job. The reason I didn't take it is because they didn't pay enough dollars per hour. But one of the benefits I would have had would have been able to be, and Elon's on the record saying this, that like people are saying like you need to unionize, you need to go to the UAW and pay your workers $40 an hour or whatever. And he's like, I pay my workers what I pay them, and they have the opportunity to participate in my employee stock purchase program. And had I taken that job at Tesla for $20 an hour or whatever 7 or 8 years ago and just maxed out the ESPP and held on to those shares and done nothing else, I would have a lot more money today than had I accepted a job for $40 an hour, and probably even just doing what I'm doing now for work. And I'm gonna, you know,
And
I do okay. But
I think that
I think people can fuck themselves over. It's not necessarily that Elon is fucking over all of his employees, but he's saying, "Hey, you're at my company. Do what I do. I take all my compensation in stock, and I'm a fucking genius. Like,
yeah.
if you want to not take the stock options, that's on you. You want to take the stock options and sell them for a 10% gain, that's on you. I'm the richest man in the world, and I got there by holding my own stock. So
And
anyway,
and that's the thing. I think that there should be change in like just how, I like that it's not just someone like, oh, I just need a job. I'm just looking for a certain paycheck, right? That it's like I think that, we should, there should be this connection between I want to invest in this company, I believe in this company, I want to be part of it. And so
absolutely.
so I don't, I mean, not that I'm against unions, but I think that it's like, oh, I was talking to someone recently and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to be striking. And I was like, I don't know if I would do that because, your union's going to get paid no matter what. You already paid your union dues. So if they don't get results, they already get paid. They don't care, and you're going to be the one risking your job. So like, it's just a weird system we have where it's like, if you're just like, oh, I want to work with this company because I believe in the leadership and I want to be part of what they're doing. And then they give you the chance to then also benefit, sort of exponentially, I guess, with then I think that that's just such a better model. So I didn't know that about Tesla, how they did it, but like I don't know, I think that's a better idea. I mean, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd take less than that to have the opportunity to go work and to have access to for share purchase.
Yeah,
So,
it's a pretty common benefit in corporate America if you're a full time employee to have the ability to, say, allocate 10 or 15% of your income to purchase company stock at a guaranteed discount over time. So you
hmm
get the stock at a discount, it's payroll deducted from your pay. And I'm just looking back at the opportunity. Like, had I made $20 an hour and put 10% of my income into Tesla stock at $20 a share, like adjusted, which is we're 10, it would be about $10 a share for when I started working. Had I just worked there and banked up shares, even if I'm only making 40 grand a year, I'm putting $4,000 a year in to buy Tesla at $10, and now it's at $250. It's like, let's do some math here.
yeah,
If you had just done that, been that $20 an hour employee and not sold your shares, sitting here today, 10 years later, you'd be sitting on quarter million, $500,000 in equity and not had to pay income tax on that. You'll pay capital gains eventually. You'll pay taxes on dividends if Tesla were to have issued dividends eventually, but that's equity, and that would be sick. And that's not what I've got today.
and and that's why I think that like like what Kevin Malone's doing, with like finance education and stuff, and that if more people could understand how the market should work and does work, that we could, people could be able to invest like that, that they could better make those choices and say like, hey, I'm actually do my research and find out about this company, see if I do want to be part of it, because it should be sort of like a long-term commitment instead of like just a whatever, this is going to pay the bills for a little bit.
Yeah, and someone made a great point earlier. It says that you don't necessarily want to go all in on the, let's see, yeah, not a good idea to go all in on shares for a company you work for, you know, referencing Enron employees. And yeah, absolutely. But I think to Michael's point earlier was it would be nice if we worked in a system, or if the system worked in such a way where maybe people had more. I mean, maybe it might not be fair to say that it doesn't exist today to a certain extent, but I think as if you're both a laborer and an investor, I think it's kind of an opportunity of when you're making that decision of where you're going to go work for, maybe and you because you're an investor and you have to work for an income, like think about working for a company that you want to be long in, that you believe in the company, and if you're and you see additional value in something like an ESPP. But
But
I didn't mean to go too far down this
no,
tangent. Go ahead,
the
Michael.
Enron actually is a good example, because like what person really did their research about Enron and be like, I want to be part of what they're doing.
Precisely.
Like it's going to be the future. Did they even know what they were doing? No. Like I
Yeah.
guarantee no one knew how the company really made money. Obviously, because like, and that's the thing is, yeah. I mean, like you couldn't like they weren't making money, so like no one could have had an idea of how money was being made because they just weren't making it.
Yeah, real quick, Beer Pizza Gaming. You're calling me out on my lack of knowledge on the tax code. Yeah, I'm not an accountant, but I think I was pretty spot on with what I was saying. Was had I chose to purchase shares of Tesla stock, 10 years ago and held them this entire time, like I would have a cost basis. It would be low, and had I not sold them, I would not have paid taxes because I have not incurred the taxable event of selling shares yet. I think that's pretty accurate, but. Yeah, Michael, anything else you want to share with us about last week? What's funny is I felt like as I'm watching the streams from last week, I was just like, man, I'm gonna have so many questions about this. I can't wait to talk to, I can't wait for future shows. I can't wait to ask people questions, hop on Reddit, see what's going on. I just saw tinfoil after tinfoil after tinfoil. And one thing I thought was pretty cool that happened last week, I think it happened last weekend, was just Kais going to get those bottles signed by Jim
Yeah.
Cramer. First thing I saw when Cramer signed those bottles, I was like, oh my God, like those bottles of tequila or whatever they were called, those are worth a lot of money right now. Like, those are like some of the most, especially if this thing squeezes. If when Bed Bath and Beyond goes to the moon, you know, those are going to be priceless collectibles, just like
Yeah.
icons of an era. And it's just like, it was so cool to see that happen. And then just like literally the next day, he's handing them those bottles over to Bill Pulte and saying, hey, this one's for you. And can you give this one to Ryan? He's like, yeah, sure. If I see him. But any other insights you can share with us from last week that really kind of blew your mind or that got you thinking about things in new ways? I think what you shared with us already is that one of the things that really got to you is just sort of this idea that there's sort of a coalition, and obviously this is your opinion, it's speculation. It's
Right.
not
Yeah.
like you saw, yeah, it's just, but that there's this sort of coalition of, powerful capitalists that are forming up to wage war against the abusive naked short sellers, against the financial cartel, against the criminals. And that there may, and I think we're speculating that there's some good actors out there that may have an interest in using and this stock presenting an opportunity to right some of the wrongs in the financial world. So you've shared that already. What else do you want to share with us, Michael?
I mean, I think there in the community, there's a lot of kind of people are kind of split on how they feel about Kais. And so meeting him in
Yeah.
person, like kind of, well, I mean, I've thought a lot about it because, I knew there had to be something there. And then I remember one time just randomly, I was bringing up as an example the Arab Spring, comparing it to Occupy Wall Street back in 2008. And, and then he's like, oh, I was part of Arab Spring and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, dang, okay. And so I think that in like this whole bigger picture, the reason that, like having someone that's like, I don't want to say crazy enough, but I don't really know another way to say it. But to like do stuff like go up and prank Jim Cramer, right? That you need people like that. You need like the Army Rangers, that are willing to just go out there with zero fear and
Yeah, he's
you
he's a
know
battering ram. He's a battering
yeah.
ram, that's for sure.
So he's kind of surprised me on like how well connected he is. That was something on the trip. I was like, okay, more well connected by far than I thought. So yeah, and what else? Let's see. I mean, also just that it's kind of like I remember Bug's Life when the bugs realized that the grasshoppers that there's more ants than. Oh wait, I'm like thinking of Ants, the movie. Anyway, they both came out at the same time. But either way, that there was more of the regular people than there was of these leaders that were extracting all the wealth. And looking at, so I know that, I mean, I've made a lot of things I really care about, and it's always been kind of weird. I remember I made a post like I have my app I've been making, my psychology app, and these different things. I'll post it and like no one cares, right? Facebook, wherever, like all my regular friends. And then I remember I posted like I poked something that like I thought of that I thought was like really meaningful. Literally gets like like 1-2 likes. I post oh, I'm gonna write a book, 50 shades of white, one shade of sunburnt red, the life of a ginger, and it gets like all these like likes, and I'm like, it's weird what people like and what they're willing to support. So when Jim Cramer posted, he's like, hey, I'm going to be doing a signing of these wine bottles, right, or tequila or whatever it was. He didn't get very many like reshares or upvotes or whatever. And I don't know, I'm sure he was really excited about it. I'm sure it's something he's been wanting to do for a long time, and like to see that there was like, I don't know, 30 people or whatever that were willing to share his post, and then Kais does his video and it gets like, I don't know what he's up to, like 1,000 reshares. And so you kind of like contextualize, like there's a lot of people that are ready for a change, that are sick of this, and the whole inverse Jim Cramer thing. It's not a joke. It's not funny. Like no one's laughing. And
It's no, it's hilarious.
yeah. So
I'm
I
sorry, I didn't
mean,
mean to cut you off. I just
no, I mean it's true. It's just like that it kind of, that was really really reassuring to me, that it's like there's a lot of people watching, and it's not just, oh, he's getting pranked, because like if you don't really know what's going on, if you don't know who Jim Cramer is, it's not really that funny, right? Like it's not like just the typical kind of prank videos or whatever. But I mean, yeah, so it was symbolic of the movement and symbolic of how many people are excited for this to happen. And this I mean, to watch Mad Money, right? And to compare Mad Money to the Pee Show, like I haven't really watched Mad Money that much, but he's like, he has some like control board and he like hits like a noise and then just says something stupid, but like it's not even funny stupid. It's just like, yeah, don't buy GameStop. And like okay, whatever. Like, buy, Silicon Valley Bank. It's a solid bank right now, and then it hits like, he's not funny. He's not into it. And then you look at like the PP show, right? You have all these people from a diverse background, really excited. Everyone has like a really deep character, like deep personality, and meeting them in person was like, you can tell they're even deeper of a personality. And you get to see it like so much more of a real kind of conversation and real thoughts and feelings, right? Instead of just this fake bull from Jim Cramer. Like he like, it's like he's like soulless up there. He's like, I just have to keep doing this, whatever. I can't really stop. And so kind of like seeing that, and also, also I've been noticing, like with CNBC posts, finance posts something, like how many views it gets on YouTube. And so it's like their whole empire is based on on all that, and it's just it's been interesting to see that it's changing. I'm actually going to bring on Rad Dad real quick. Hey, Rad Dad, what's up, man?
Oh, am I here?
Yeah, you're here.
Oh, hold on there, Michael. Can everybody hear me? Is there an echo? Are we having an
Yes,
echo?
yeah, there is an echo.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to make a special request from the chat. Can Matthew Tooley please step up? Can you put a link in for Matthew Tooley there, Michael? Is it possible?
Sure.
Come on, Matthew, step up here. Everybody loves Matthew Tooley.
Oh, we got Anastera too. Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, not a lot. Sorry, I'm just getting my headphones plugged in so you guys don't get any feedback.
Oh, okay.
But thanks for letting me on. And like, one thing is like I'm kind of new to this whole thing relative to like you, because you guys have been doing this for months and months and months, and I just jumped in. But like,
oh no, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're good. Hey.
Oh, yeah.
it's just nice to be a part of this because I don't know, like watching all you guys, all these crazy people, like do all these crazy things, just like you were talking about right now, is if nothing else, it's making the wait while we're sitting here just waiting for the plan to change a lot more bearable.
Yeah.
Amen.
And I did have one question though that I wanted to ask you, which is the reason why I came on. So I jumped in a little bit late from this stream. I was busy with my own life, but I wanted to know. You said that the government shutdown might delay this situation, and I'm not sure if this is the right question to be asking right now while we got like this stuffed animal show going on.
Yeah.
But
No, you're good.
I'm gonna ask it anyways.
It's live, no pie.
But how exactly could the shutdown actually delay this? Because based on everything that I've seen that you guys presented, I don't see how it could, because it is, not related to what the government shutdown is going to actually affect, right?
So it was saying that the SEC would be, I'm just off the top of my head, I could find the post. It was like 4,500 employees, and they're going to go down to a skeleton crew of like 800 or something like that, or something like that.
So basically, if a company tries to issue additional any shares of stock, or if a company tries to go through some sort of fundamental transaction next week, they will not be successful in their ability to do so. Therefore, if part of the plan is to have a successor entity emerge with new shares being issued, not happening next week unless the government opens back up. If the government shutdown screws me out of MOAS, I'm going to go bonkers. I'm going to be so upset.
I would like to. No, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think Ryan Cohen and co. Obviously, they knew that this would be a potential part of the enemy's play, because the way I've looked at this entire situation is from like a game strategy point of view. Because my background is in gaming. I've done a lot of competitive gaming and understand like how like the back and forth can go. And there's no way that he didn't consider this as a potential issue. And I think that part of the reason that this has been so vague in the first place is to mask the potential avenues that they can go, right? Because I think that you guys have mentioned this before, that there have been a lot of contingencies and other possible ways that this could go out that they have like accounted for, for however many like roadblocks that the people that we're up against are going to throw in. And I think that obviously I don't have any like concrete proof to suggest that this will be the case, but I think that since the date is on a Saturday specifically, I think that was obviously very intentional to do so that, it could happen on Friday or it could happen on Monday. I think that the whole government budget thing usually happens around this time, every year or so. If I'm not mistaken, it's usually around this time.
Sorry to interrupt you just before I forget. So in the Teddy books, it actually references, what was it? Or no, maybe there was a... so I'd have to look it up. I think I mentioned it on one of the Friday night PP shows. Was that back when the Teddy books came out, or right around there, the whole question was, about the monetary policy change, right? Whether it was going to be tightened or not,
Right.
and it'd be I'd have to look back, and sorry,
Real
that's
quick,
really
someone made Adam Austin in the chat made a comment I wanted to call out. His opinion is that he sees it as a government shutdown will be used as an excuse for the MOAS and the SEC saying, "See what happens when we're not around. We're not here for you." U.S. government probably. I love that sentiment, and that sounds great to me. I'm on. I'm
that sounds like a pretty good angle, because everything that I've seen Gary Gensler do up in this point has not really communicated to me that he's on our side. It's been kind of like I've been kind of unsure. Like, is he really on our side? Is he not? I think he's trying to save his ass. He's trying to save his organization's ass. He's trying to shift the blame away from him in any particular way. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some communication between RC and Co. and the SEC about this, and hence why some of the things that they're doing is pissing off a lot of financiers. They've been complaining a lot. I am reminiscent of Pulte's hit dog holler tweet. So I feel like that could be the case, that they're be like, oh, we're not watching. Oh, look what happens. That sort of thing. So, and with Pulte doing all the stuff he's doing, I mean, I don't think that all this stuff would be happening right now if we weren't about to like go off. So I'm not particularly worried about this going off. I don't think anything can stop this at all whatsoever, because of a lot of other debt stuff that's going around this issue as well. That I'm not sure if you guys have discussed that. There's a lot of stuff going on in with the Bank of Japan that Peruvian Bull has been doing a lot of DD on, that I've been paying very close attention to. And it looks like that the yield curves are going crazy over there, and he's been posting like daily updates on what's going on with that, and the timing of that is very poignant, we'll say. The timing of that is very poignant.
So
yeah, go ahead.
just to the comparison, though, I'll have to go back and figure out what it was in the Teddy books that I mean, it seemed very clearly that it was talking about the monetary. Heck yeah, it's Goku. Talking about the monetary policy was because like that's pretty big, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't. It was big for different reasons. But like, say you were going to IPO something, you wouldn't want to IPO something when there's, quantitative tightening, right? That's just definitely not the time you want to do it. So, it pulled the whole market down. So it's interesting that the Teddy books were written, and it guessed that it was going to pull it down, and everyone was kind of just waiting, the stock market in general, to see whether or not they were going to ease up, whether they were going to keep tightening. And people were betting either way and getting wrecked. So I think similarly, the idea of the budget and passing the budget is also a big deal. So at this point, we've won. The only difference is that it might be delayed, just because they want the nulls. That's really, really valuable. But I think they really want to issue shares into the squeeze, just like they did with GameStop. And also the other thing is that the SEC said that they're not going to, while they're on their skeleton crew or whatever, they're not going to take information from whistleblowers. So that means that potentially Goldman Sachs or whoever could just do something really nefarious, and no one would be there to stop them.
Which, I mean, if you're under the impression that the SEC is complicit in all this, I mean, what was really changing there, right? But I think a consideration that I'm not sure if you guys have thought about it, we have been toying with this idea of a decentralized exchange that is going to be launched alongside Teddy, as sort of like the new place where people are going to invest in these new companies. I think that I don't know how the rules and regulations go around that, but if I wonder if it's possible that even if the government shutdown will prevent or delay shares being given out, what if it's done without their, like, is there a way to sort of get around that? And could the new exchange be a part of that, right?
I think
I
that's
go ahead.
so yes and no. I just think we have to have patience. I mean, like the fact that we're gonna come out very well. I mean, it's very much a reality that this could go over $500 per share. So do we really want to try and rush it like, even a month and possibly lose out on that?
I
Like
gotta
anyone that's gonna say yes, like, I'm not gonna say you don't deserve the reward, but like there's big players, they're working really hard to make this happen, but like they're not stupid. They know that like they're not bigger than the entire government, and so
yeah.
it just, I think that's might be why Pulte had us over, was just to say, look, I'm going to tell you you've won. We're going to have ice cream just like at the end of the Teddy books, because we're already working on the next Teddy books. We've completed these ones, the timeline of that, but you're not going to know for a little while. And
Wait, there's more Teddy books coming?
yeah, they announced that there's going to be, I don't remember where they got announced, but someone got an email or something from Teddy, and they're like, oh yeah, there's going to be another series, right? So volume 2 is going to be coming out, and so I think that that's the thing. We've won. It's just a matter of like the timeline of whether it's worth it, and so it could have happened today or this week, but someone that seems to be pretty credible says that, well, two different people that seem to be really credible say, well, all we know for sure is that we're going to have a very happy Thanksgiving. So that's not what anyone wants to hear, but you definitely, and Beer Pizza Gaming, that wasn't me that got the email. I saw it from someone else. But that's not what anyone really wants to hear. But I mean, this is gonna be huge. I mean, like, we're like, what are we gonna be getting paid millions for, right?
I still think it's really funny that you still are like, you're looking at a share price range of 2 to 500, and in my mind, I'm like, no, it's going to be it's going to be
No,
multitudes higher than that. But I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I
yeah.
totally agree with you.
I mean, before my previous target, to be transparent, was like, I was like, it could hit somewhere between 80 and 200. And now I'm like, there's a definitely a good chance it could get well beyond 500. So,
how would you react if this stock, as well as several others that are being, naked shorted, and like as part of this whole, like, the scheme, this crime that's going on, how shocked would you be if it went up to, say, $1,000 per share? How shocked would you be if it went to $10,000 per share, or $100,000 per share? How shocked would you be? Like, what would you react? How do you think you would react to that?
yeah. Also, just real quick, just someone sent me this emoji.
Yeah, this is
you can
kind of nuts.
take that tinfoil for what it's worth. I just was putting this up there so that if anyone likes tinfoil, that's all I got was this. So
yeah, just the satellite emoji.
Oh,
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, that's the satellite emoji.
But I don't think people watching the stream know what the tinfoil is. You want to tell them what happened backstage, Michael?
I mean, the person that typically, or I think it was the person that typically comes to the PP show and RC, just put that emoji. So
yeah,
if anyone wants some tinfoil to chew on, there you go.
I mean, Pulte's at SpaceX, and what they're launching are more Starlink satellites. So
I might buy some. I might buy some.
I don't know.
Dish. I might buy some dish calls just for the hell of it.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be funny, and nonetheless, it'd be part of the story of like either Michael's right or Michael's wrong. I mean, that by the way, that connection is. I mean, it's kind of a weird connection. I'm like.
Oh yeah, it's way out there. But like, I just looked while we were talking about it. I just looked at their balance sheet. I looked at their income statement. Their market cap is $3 billion. Their total assets are between 50 and 60 billion. Their total liabilities are like 30 billion. And they make $6 billion a year in profit. and that's nuts. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense about it, and I'm not trying to say like it's undervalued, go buy, buy, buy. I think when I see something like that, I see that the stock is priced like that because it aligns with what my impression is of the company, that in 5, 10, 20 years, no one's going to be doing business with Dish Network. Like, and I don't know that Dish Network has come up with any sort of radical plan to transform their business model to how to grow their revenues. It's just sort of milking what will be a dwindling customer base, and that's why the stock is priced what it is. And that argument makes sense. But right now, just for if you just were to analyze a balance sheet, look at that, and I'm no pro at that, but looking at a company that earns twice as much money in profitable revenue per year than its market cap, with an asset to liability ratio of 5-3, that looks healthy. So whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's like a life cycle of companies, right, where basically you get corrupt people, they try and get a bunch of money and then jump out in their golden parachutes, right? But then you just have these companies that, kind of fall in value, but they, turn into maybe a cigar butt where it's like, well, you could turn it around. And like Blockbuster, I mean, it's nostalgic to a degree, but also, I mean, their business practices weren't necessarily like upstanding. It was like, oh, late fees, we're just gonna just totally penalize you and different things. And similarly, Dish Network.
It was like a cable company that was even worse, because when there was bad weather, you didn't even get to watch TV. It was still a cable company.
Oh,
that's
I
my
remember
impression of the
those
company.
days.
Oh my god.
And Dish Network, they tried, they when they first, the Blockbuster streaming thing, they already tried it, but it was like only for Dish Network customers, and so it was like they're trying to. John with the 5, could you please read about the NASDAQ raid in Europe? All right. I don't know if you want to pull that up while Wally, or if someone has
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay. Well, if you want to come in the back, and then you can just share a link in the backstage, I'll. But I think that basically there's these companies, they kind of like push it as far as they can, as far as like being like pissing everyone off, and then they start losing value, but they still have all these assets, and then there's value to then turn that around and give it a good image. I mean, when Ryan Cohen buying into Wells Fargo, to me, was really weird. I've thought a lot about it. I'm just like, Wells Fargo is like the most corrupt bank. Like, they screwed me over so hard.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that. I felt the exact same way. It's like, why is he buying into this place? Like,
but I think that they ran their course. That basically they started losing, their depositors. They started losing, everything, and so they had to turn around, right? And with a business I ended up having 3 bank accounts. I had like 2 personal accounts. I had Bank of America and Chase, and then I also had like one at Wells Fargo with a business account with my business partner. And it seemed like they were trying so hard to fix it. I was still like just bitter.
No, that is legitimate, like, emotional understanding. Like, when someone's reputation gets like dunked into the ground, like, that lasts for a long time. It's very difficult to dig yourself out of that situation. Like, since I come from like a video game background, and like I know a lot of like the big players on that, like Blizzard Entertainment is a perfect example of that. Like, I remember all the way back in 2010, I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft. That was like my game to play. And I remember even back then.
Don't be a Leroy. Ladies and gentlemen, Leroy.
Thanks for that. Sorry.
All right.
Do not go to battle alone. You will regret it. You will be a Leroy, enjoying the elite world of Warcraft.
Always search for peace.
Fuck 'em.
And when it's not found, you're fighting a god on your side. Remember that.
Thank you. All right, so Anastasia, you were saying, you're talking about, because I think I know where you're going as far as like, well, I mean, you can add to it, but I mean, I also, just the gaming companies, and since they had the corner in the market on, with WoW and whatnot, like it was kind of a cash grab type situation,
Well, what happened was is that Activision decided to basically buy Blizzard out, and they did a merger, and they became Activision Blizzard.
Mhm.
And I knew once that deal went in, like that was the end of it. And sure enough, like a decade later, like you find out all these things, and the quality of their games has just gone down. They've not really innovated on a lot of their IPs. They did, to their credit. I mean, Overwatch was a new IP, and it was really good. I really enjoyed that game, but like these guys aren't taking it anywhere. And in the Blizzard community, people have been for like years now have been like pissed off and making memes about Bobby Kotick, the CEO, and all this sort of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were to find connections between him and like BCG and all these other people, because it's like it's the same. Even if they're not actually related, it's the same kind of people, and it's endemic, not just in that particular company, but all over the video game industry. There was a video I just watched today. If this, this kind of thing is your interest,
Yeah.
it's a very small video. Doesn't have a lot of views, but it's the Fallout creator talking about why games suck and how like a lot of the way that the people's attitudes about it. And I think what happened is that back in the 90s and the aughts, like game companies, like they were coming up because people were passionate about games. They were passionate about making games and making things that were interesting. But once I think World of Warcraft in particular was like a huge turning point, because it wasn't just a big game amongst gamers. It was a worldwide phenomenon. And suddenly I think that sort of clicked in the mind of a lot of people who are more money oriented, and those are the kinds of people who are greedy and selfish, and they just sort of like, oh, this is where we can make a lot of money. We can just take advantage of these gamers and like do this. And over the course of the last like decade and a half or so, I don't know how much you guys know about games, but we had microtransactions and unfinished games and terrible like experiences with the stuff of just like,
I mean,
video games used to be fun, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I feel like it's very topically relevant because we are talking about Brian Cohen, who is now the CEO of GameStop. And like, I remember like when Burning Crusade came out, I was there at the midnight release at a GameStop, right?
Yeah.
And it's just goes to show like how endemic this corporate problem is across like the entire board. And
it has to.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm good.
It has to do with kind of a life cycle, right? You get someone that has a genuine idea, but they're probably not business savvy. I mean, I was just talking to my dad today. He picked me up from the airport, and he's like, "Yeah, I never really put a lot of emphasis in business. He built houses, he drew the house plans and built them." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Man, if I would have just done 30% more business, I would have made a lot of money." And so you get people that are doing genuine work, but they can't monetize it, so they can't really expand that much. And so something starts off genuine, it starts getting bigger, and then it gets completely taken over. I know, like, I was really excited for Warcraft 3 Reforged to come out.
Oh yeah, I know.
And
yeah,
it was the biggest disappointment ever, because
everyone
like
was so mad about it too. They were so mad, and I totally don't blame them. I'm right there with you, man. I was looking forward to that.
I mean, that was a game. That was one of the only games I really got into, from back in the day when I I don't say gamed a lot, but I gamed, a bit. And so to see that coming back, and like the whole community coming back, and everyone was excited, and then it was just absolute garbage. And it was like how could you mess this up? Literally, all you'd have to do is like update the matchmaking and change it to be able to do maybe 1080p or 4K or whatever, like literally, or up the frame rate. Like, they wouldn't have had to do like hardly anything, and yet still they managed to spend a lot of money and then create garbage. Yeah.
Ever since this GameStop stuff came out, and we understood more and more about what BCG was doing and all these seller boxing schemes and stuff with Citadel and all that, it completely changed the way that I looked at this kind of like these kinds of things that happen, right? Like, how can you screw that up, right? Well, what if they're doing it on purpose to run the company in the ground so they could do this sort of thing again? It's not something you can do overnight, especially with a big company like Blizzard that has such a huge following and people love it. They have their own convention, for God's sakes. What company has their own convention? Like nobody has that. It's always like a group of things, like for electronics or games in general. Like I said, that's how big they were. And I can just see that as being like an actual possibility. And it absolutely disgusts me in a way that I cannot verbalize properly. And I'm a writer, so verbalizing and speaking stuff like that's just how strongly that this shit pisses me the fuck off. I'm so upset and so passionate about it. Like these guys are clowning around and have a good time. I can't even be happy, man. It makes me so mad.
And that's why I'm so excited about Ryan Cohen and Larry Chang and Pulte and everyone that's like emphasizing the customer delight. I just think it's a whole different business model that is viable, but it's viable in the long term. It's not immediately viable, and whereas the other one's immediately viable but not on the long term. And that, you know, I'm excited for people to realize the necessity of supporting people and companies that are looking for the long term, because like it could be a win-win for all of us, right? Like if there, you know, Blizzard, Activision could have like, geez, I mean, they could have just talked to anyone from the community and gotten enough feedback. And
people have been like desperately saying what they need to do in large online like streaming platforms, and they just don't listen like at all. And it's so
like if Activision would have talked to me, I'd be like, look, just all you do is update the matchmaking, do some sort of game chat, maybe like integration or whatever, which is probably already a plugin that already exists. You know, make it accessible for whatever kind of game chat thing that is kind of normal. And then just up the frame rate and just put it for $10, $15, whatever. And they're just done. They would have made tons of money. Tons of money. But
like, look how successful a lot of like some of the Nintendo remakes, like of the Ocarina and Majora's Mask that they put on the Switch. Those things sold like crazy, man. They were hugely popular.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of work on that.
But that with Warcraft, for what it was and like how the game works, they really didn't need to. Like it's like it's a competitive like RTS where it's just like no one really cares about the graphics. The graphics actually get in the way of the gameplay.
Hey, gentlemen, Apats, it's a pleasure being here with you tonight. I'm going to sign off, but it was good seeing you. And Mike, thanks for the opportunity to be here. Really appreciate it. And Thule, dad jokes, Anasthera, you guys take care.
All right.
You take
See you,
care.
man.
Yeah, you too. And big shout out. Yeah, big shout out to the chat tonight. You guys rock.
Yeah, thanks, chat.
You too.
All right, see you guys.
See you, Wally.
Lovely to meet you.
So I have to admit, sort of on the subject of like dealing with business, because I'm that kind of guy. I'm more of a creative. Like I want to make things that make people happy, right? Like I've never really been focused on like the money aspect, and I feel like that has really hurt me a lot in like the long run up to this point.
Right. Same here.
And this is why I'm really excited about this opportunity, because with this, like I can create my own company and do things the way that I know will get the success that I need. I've been planning it out for quite a while. I have ideas for games and entertainment and stuff that I want to do, but even still, my biggest concern has been trying to find people who are like business savvy, who aren't like corrupt scumbags, right? And one of the reasons I actually joined this community and came onto the show in the first place is kind of hoping that I could connect with people who have that kind of business acumen, who are interested in that, but are also passionate, you know, on the side about some of the things that I'm like want to make a career out of, and like team up with these people, right? I don't want to because it's so hard to find people that you can actually trust,
right?
Especially when it comes to money and finance and business. Because even when I was a kid, I was like, I don't want to go to that. That's where all the assholes go.
Right.
And
no, I was the same way.
I was more correct than I realized, because like I didn't realize it was this bad. Like, whew, man, I really didn't. But
so I'm just gonna go read this real quick. Thanks, Sasklu.
I'm going to say Saskalu, yeah.
All right, so we got Sweden's Economic Crime Authority has raided Stockholm's stock exchange to collect evidence for an ongoing investigation related to market abuse. And I think this is kind of going to be a worldwide thing. Also, it Thule and Rad Dads. It's like kind of funny because like my idea of Mad Money not actually being funny, like you guys are making it better than Mad Money. so, so
Anytime, Michael. Anytime.
thanks, man. So is it,
I'm gonna post the article in chat so people can follow
oh,
along.
I think I can post in chat actually, but
Oh, I just went to the YouTube stream, but yeah, this happened like a couple of weeks ago.
oh, it did. Okay, so I'm wondering why. Do you know? So do you know about this?
Not really, but people seem to want to talk about it. I'm not really sure.
I mean, I think
don't know
that like
anything
the
about
whole
it.
idea of like that a lot of the whole country, the whole world was like in bed with each other. I mean, the FTX, the people, like collateralizing the tokenized shares were in Germany, right? There was
Some
something.
motherfucker just said he wants to get me checked into rehab.
Go.
Oh, little cunt.
Let's go.
Sorry, Michael. Sorry to
Woo,
touch you.
yeah, Thule.
Yeah, you. Sorry, mate. Am I alright to speak for you for a second?
Sure.
Well, not
Yeah,
to
go
speak
for it.
you. I'd never speak for you, but, like with you, sort of thing.
All right. What's up, man?
Oh my. What the fuck? Mate! It's wow. I love all of you beyond belief, and I kind of don't know what to do about what's happening. And
Yeah.
I've not even been told anything. I've just figured it out, you know? Sort of. I'm not gonna ever. Only God knows. But I'm close to the truth, and it made me cry like a child for about 3 hours. So,
Relatable.
you know, it literally made me cry
That's
for
beautiful.
so fucking long when my consciousness just caught a glimpse of what it was that was happening. I cried, and I did not stop crying, and I found God through those tears in a big way. I love all of you. I love all of you, and this really is the best timeline we could have got. Really, like this is beyond good. Like, well, no, well, yeah, I suppose it is because there obviously is more, and we're gonna find out what that is. Really, really, and we're gonna do it together as a family.
Right.
And all the bullshit ain't gonna be there. It ain't gonna be there. So, fucking, let's
you.
go. Let's just walk the path one step at a time and keep our heads on straight, because we still need to keep our guards up, and we still need to trust God absolutely and give Him the power. Amen.
This man is so inspirational.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love you, Thule.
I love you too, mate. I'm sorry, I've
Man,
just spilt stuff all over my car.
you touched the bottom of my soul. You really do.
And you touched the top of it, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you. And Michael,
Yeah.
you look tired.
I'm tired. I'm even more bullish, but also way more tired. Like I'm not a morning person, and yeah, 3 hours is not enough sleep. So
I mean, you just had a huge adventure, man. Like, it doesn't get much more adventurous than that. It must have been quite a
Yeah.
time. So I totally don't blame you for being
Yeah.
tired. I'd be tired too.
Best time to be alive, Michael.
it is. I'm so excited. I just also want, I mean, it's like, I don't know, I think everyone kind of tries to make us get different expectations on things, right? The shills want us to expect we're going to zero and everything, and I just know that we're fighting a good fight. I know at least I'm doing what I know is right, and I think we've already won, and it just might. The timeline might be shifted a little bit just because of the government shutdown thing.
Nah, brother. Timelines don't shift.
No matter what, we
all
come out
God's.
the other side.
Yeah.
It's God's. It's
We
God's.
come out the
mate.
other side winning. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, no, I know it doesn't matter. I mean, like, either way, we're gonna have a very happy Thanksgiving, and and be able to share that happy Thanksgiving. I mean, like the idea of, I don't know, the amount of charity that will probably happen post MOAS between Thanksgiving and Christmas will be insane. it will, yeah, it will be historical. That is for sure.
And I just want to say again, you don't need to like be like stoutly religious. You know, you don't need to be like, I worship you. You know, just understand what love is really, and stop being dickheads.
Right.
Mate, just stop being dickheads. Yeah.
But being a dickhead is so
Yeah,
fun.
but there's alright, bad choice. Right, instead of right, okay. So you're allowed to be a dickhead as long
When
as, you know, you
necessary.
can toe the line. But there's a level of teasing. There's a level of just being confused, and then there's serious malevolent
Yeah.
intent, and that has been going on. And the people that are watching these streams, the people that have been paying attention and haven't quite twigged that this is very fucking real and very fucking dangerous, really need to switch their fucking brains on. Really, because these boys, I'm safe, I'm fine. I've been cushy, yeah. My head's been out in the fucking whatever, but these lads' lives have been on the fucking line in a very real way. So start respecting them. Really start fucking respecting them. And if you ever move against them, and I'm not speaking to my friends and my loved ones, if you ever move against them, like what happened on that plane, you will die. That is it. You will die. That was your last chance. Because I was meant to be on that plane, and if I was, I think we'd have all fucking gone. Because I wasn't ready for what was going on. And God did save us all. So fuck you. Last chance. Burn. If you do not listen and repent. And that I'm not fucking about, mate. You can call me a crackhead, you can call me this, you can call me that. I do not care. The ego within me is dissolved now. It's just me talking to whoever in this fucking thing that's paying attention to what we're doing, that has a very evil mind and a very evil spirit. You are not better than us, let alone better than Jesus, Yeshua, God. You do not step to that level. Learn your place. You are below us, and you respect that. There's a reason why you have to follow the path, absolute. And you fell off that path a long fucking time ago. And people have tried very, 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 very hard to love you and to forgive you and make you better. But you don't listen, and you still are a piece of shit. And eventually, a line is drawn, and anything on the other side of that line is gone forever. Remember that. That's all
right.
Yeah. It's
and then, Jelly Lizard, who the fuck? Jelly Lizard, you might be here to just test me, and I respect you. But, Jelly, when time progresses, and you see, and your mind opens, and reality prints itself to you, you will sit on the floor like a fool and like a child, because you are not listening to the world that you are living in, to the God that made you and rules you. You are fucking ridiculous. You are fucking ridiculous. Start paying attention. Pay attention, please, because people have nearly died very many times on our fucking side, on our side. Yeah, and it is God that's kept them alive. So piece of shits like you that are out there probably smiling, fucking watch what happens, and I cannot wait for it. I really can't. And this isn't coming out of anything. I haven't done any drugs today. I am sober. Okay.
Today.
Oh, but yeah, today, mate. Of course, you've got to take your.
I'm just
you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
We got John with the 5. He says he's gonna go find a hotel Bible now.
You keep me grounded. You keep me grounded. But no, it's a very real issue. It's a very real issue.
Tuli.
Very real. Yeah, sorry.
Tuli.
Hello.
Hello.
Let me calm down. Oh,
Michael.
mate. The devil.
Yeah, what's up?
Tuli is so passionate.
Not listening.
The devil needs to be rebuked. Tuli's absolutely right. Evil lurks.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because these you don't understand how little time you have left. Like, this is really like borderline shit. Start paying attention or you're gone. Like, you don't know how long you've had. Like, this is not your first life. Remember that. You have been lied to.
Right.
And I know that goes against
When
the
you
word of
wake
the
up.
Bible. That goes against the word of the Bible. I'm sorry. But the Bible, whilst it has the word of God in it and it is immortal, man has changed those words. They have. They have. Okay? And the real truth is known, and it is kept, and it is absolutely going according to plan. So thank you, everyone who believes in love and works towards it in any realm of life, no matter who you worship, no matter who your family is, no matter what you align to in your decisions, as long as you come to love and you accept it and you understand it and you work through it in your realm of conscious reality, you will always be forgiven, and you will always be blessed, and you will always be saved, and that is just how it works. But you don't understand the level of evil in this life, and I'm really being honest. If you did, most of you would kill yourselves. Most of you would kill yourselves, okay? So just really start paying attention. I am not out of my mind. I am not sleep deprived. I've had really good sleep. I've come off the drugs, and I've actually been baptized in my bath by the man. So I sort of see the picture in a way, and I can really say that I'm just speaking out of my heart and out of my soul. I'm not thinking about what I'm trying to say. I'm just looking at an enemy and letting it know that it is the enemy. It is the enemy, and you are not good enough for the fight that you are picking, and you will lose. And it was only ever your ego and your evil that would ever drive you past that point. And if it does, you absolutely deserve what is coming to you. And I will not pray for your saving. I will not.
All right.
Thanks.
We got big peepee energy here.
Right. You know, I think that where Thule's coming from goes all the way back to the Knolls, and then it goes all the way back even farther to the depository notes. Me being a sailor soldier in my life, I see this evil that Thule speaks about. AAA Jade brought it up 2 days ago. This play is huge, and when you look that far back and you start realizing those things and the way the world works, you need to wake up, and hopefully that is what the goal here is to do, is to help people wake up. You know, if people if they want you to be responsible for yourself, how the hell are we to be responsible for ourselves if we can't operate in a fair and transparent world, let alone a marketplace? We would be lost. We're trying to help people, you know, find that better path. And I hope that that's what PP and everybody is able to come together and do. The beauty of that I have seen in the subreddits and all the posts the past couple of days is just fantastic. There's so much love, so much generosity, so much giving. And I think deep down inside, everybody knows where Thule's coming from. Everybody knows where AAA Jade's coming from. You know, and for me, it's validation, because I was alone for 5 months. And those were the things that I held on to that told me, no, this is about economic warfare.
Yeah.
And what better time to be alive?
Right. And I think that's the thing, is it's difficult to even kind of articulate what's going on, right? These monsters, right? You know, you could kind of make them fantastical, but in reality, they're there, right? They've been there. People couldn't really articulate it very well in 2008. We're only getting a little bit better, you know. People use different language to talk about that. But the reality is, you know, I mean, it's there. I can, I can pull up how many failures to deliver, right? They had $4.5 trillion last year, right? It's unacceptable, you know.
Right, makes no sense. Yeah. Like, and you cannot ask me or any other person in this world. And I am a blessed man because I got to serve my country, and I got to serve my fellow men and women of this world. And I've been there. I've been in the dirt. I've slept in the dirt. I've gone days upon days without sleep, you know, because I wanted a better life for all of you, no matter what happened to me. I'm like Plur, you know, I would gladly go into battle with him, and I am in battle with him, you know, and that makes my life worthwhile. That makes everyone's life worthwhile. And if we can find a way, and I know this is the goal, to take what we have and become a force that can be reckoned with, and then they have no choice but to yield, and then we can find that salvation that Thule's talking about as a people of the entire planet. You know, for me, tripping alone for 5 months up in my mind like this, and then finding PP was the biggest blessing of my life, because it was like it led me down the path and showed me the way. And PP is the way, and I will follow PP, and I will do and support whatever he wants, and I will support and follow Michael in whatever he does, and lots of other people that are out there in this community. I want to be there and be a part of the change.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you to everybody. And I have a big show coming when we go to the moon.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to be starting to close down. So thanks for coming on, Rad Dad. You're the man.
Good night, Michael. Love you. Love you guys.
Love you too, man.
Take care.
So, Anastera, we were, I kind of want to go over these 2 articles real quick. This was actually posted, I guess, a week ago. You know, so Sweden's financial market watchdog, the Financial Supervisory Authority, FSA, launched an investigation into NASDAQ on Thursday. The probe aims to determine whether NASDAQ Stockholm breached domestic regulations by failing to report suspected instances of insider trading. You know, I've been kind of going through to try and, you know, like looking at all the big players in the finance world and like how they made their money, and so many of them got in trouble for insider trading, like all these hedge funds and whatnot. And it was like the only way to really get an edge was to have insider trading, and like everyone knows it, and yet they keep seeing people. So
I think
it'll be nice to know that like everyone will be able to watch it, and hopefully everyone will have the financial kind of perspective to be able to see why it's so bad, you know.
I think the thing is that a lot of people, especially right now, they understand how bad it is. I think when you look at the economic conditions, especially I don't know how it is outside of the United States because I don't live there, so I can't speak to it. But I mean, for the last like couple of years, like it's been a sort of like a running joke. It's like, oh, we're not quite in a recession. We don't foresee recession. And everyone's like, bitch, we in a recession. What you talking about? Like, and they're correct. Like people, one of the things that I think is really funny is that the government is like trying to insinuate that, oh, there might be extraterrestrials going out, and they had this big congressional hearing about it and all that. And of course the conspiracy and the UFO, lover crowds were like eating that shit up, but it wasn't as big as I think they were expecting it to be. And the reason is pretty simple, is because people are exhausted. They're tired. They're working multiple jobs, like all this sort of stuff. I think people understand things are really broken. They just don't know why or how, and they let alone what to do, how to fix it. And I think that when this thing finally does erupt, because it will be like an enormous eruption, everyone is going to, it's going to get everyone's attention. And we are going to be on the forefront of new change going forward. They're going to be looking to us because we are going to have all the resources and power in order to affect the change that hopefully, this obviously won't be the case for every single person who's going to benefit from this. But I would like to think that the vast majority are going to be like, yes, we know it's bad and it's going to get worse for a little bit, but we're here, we're working towards to make it better. And we're not going to tell you that it's going to be better. We're going to show you with our actions, right? Just like what Ryan Cohen's doing. And
I think, one change I imagine is with financial education, and even just kind of, I guess, philosophical education, like that in school, instead of learning, caring so much about the quadratic formula, which, no one ever uses.
Right.
That maybe, they discuss the tragedy of the commons.
Oh yeah.
How, that like, why is that something that I learned so late in my life, where it was like, now it just kind of like, I want to say, keeps me up at night. I'm like, how do you solve the problem of the tragedy of the commons? That you have, a resource, and they say you have a pond with fish in it. And as soon as you let if you don't regulate it, someone will just take all the fish, and then there's just no more fish, And so it's Yeah, I mean, I think that we're hopefully going to build a framework, and I think that everything kind of comes down to like this framework that will enable and support
Hmm.
people and inspire people to be their best self, and that synergy will be a win-win for everyone.
Hmm. I
And
agree.
yeah,
I think that the America that I thought I was born into when I was a young man was one of merit and one of where the people at the top are the ones who are the most competent. They know what's going on, and they work their way up into that position. And I don't doubt that there are still plenty of people who are in that position, but there are far
yeah,
too few of them in comparison to how many there should be. And I think part of that is because the system is gameable, right? And I'm curious to find
yeah,
out if this decentralized exchange, which I do think is coming, I wonder if this will help solve that problem. Because if people can actually vote with their wallets and move their money around to companies they want to support because of what the companies are doing, not just the products they sell or the services provide, but the way that they conduct business, that's something that I think a lot of people have been a lot more cognizant of in the past like couple of decades or so, which I think is a great thing personally.
yeah,
um, I think that I would like to believe, and I think it's quite possible that that will allow us to have the kind of ideal society where the system isn't controlled by anyone, it's controlled by all of us together. And how that will
yeah,
change the socio-political landscape, I mean, that's the big question. Like, how will this affect all of us, right? Because it's very clear that no one can be in control of the entire beast, because that leads to the situation that we are in right now. And even though we are all about to benefit tremendously from their failures, I think that most people would agree that it would have been a lot better if this sort of thing didn't happen at all. And I think how true that is will depend on like the full consequences that we're about to see, because this is going to hurt a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to end up losing a lot of things, and it's going to be a really tragic in a lot of ways. And I don't want to like bring down the mood or like make people feel bad
yeah,
about it, but the way that I see the world, it's always like a push and pull and give and take, right? This tragedy
yeah,
that's going to befall a lot of people is an opportunity for us to come in and be like, well, we're going to help save the day. And that's a very meaningful kind of life to live. And that's one thing I think a lot of people are really like hungering for right now is meaning in the work they're doing, meaning in the lives they're living. And I'm really hoping that this is a turning point, not just for our financial markets or whatnot, but for like humanity as a whole, where we can like actually start constructing uh, a society that can last sustainably well into like the future, like hundreds or even thousands of years, and even beyond that, where these values that we want to champion persist and aren't completely devastated by these nefarious bad actors who just lie, cheat, and steal.
yeah. Well, I'm glad we have a lot of awesome people. Um, I think I'm actually going to look into this Stockholm thing, and maybe talk about it later tomorrow or something.
That would be pretty good. I would like
But
to know like what exactly are they up to here with this? Like how did they get started? Like what is it they're really after here if it's not what's being stated here in the news? I think that would be pretty good.
yeah,
So I'd like to see that.
sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining me, and it's been
Yeah, thanks,
fun.
man. It's always a pleasure. I will see you hopefully on the PP show tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, and
Yeah, probably on Twitter Spaces before
yeah,
that. Yeah.
before I forget, if you could pass that video that I sent to you to PP, I would appreciate it. I worked really hard and I really want people to see it because I made it for everyone. So,
Okay, sweet.
all
Will
right,
do.
thanks, Michael. I'll catch you later.
Thank you. And we got dad jokes with a 5-pair character doing a classic mic drop. Boom. So, all right. Well, I love you all. See you guys all in the moon.